Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and today we are going to look at the Ardbeg and Oa. So, as I've previously mentioned in some of my other videos, it's kind of the last of the mainstay lineup, if you want to call that. I don't think they consider it their mainstay lineup, but I consider it their mainstay lineup. It's the whiskeys that you can find most places, not everywhere, but most places that Ardbeg's available. You'll almost always find Ardbeg 10 available pretty much everywhere. Along with that, their Wee Beastie, which is a 5 year. And then after that, it gets a little more difficult to find the rest of what I consider the core lineup to be, which is the Anoa, which this took me some searching and some finding. I could not find it in South Dakota, Wyoming, or Montana. Um, and then the Corey Reckon, which I think I picked up in South Dakota, and the Ugadal, which I don't remember where I got that one. But that's kind of their what I consider their main lineup. Those are the ones that are most available. And then after you get past those, you get into things like the Ardbeg and the review I just did, which was the Ardcore. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I've never seen that are available from Ardbeg. So if you find those, go ahead and give those a shot. They're going to be a lot more pricey, but man, you almost never go wrong. That Ardcore was the only one that I regret price tag versus what you get, right? Still a nice whiskey, just golly, if that was about $100 less, it would have been a way better deal. But this Anoa I picked up for $58 from Blackwell's Wines and Spirits in San Francisco. I did an online order. I bought the Ardbeg, I bought this Torbeg, I bought two Bunnahabhains, and the Katoken rye, Madeira cast finish rye, um, all online. So check them out if you haven't had a chance. Look online for different whiskeys if there's stuff that you're having difficulty finding. Just be aware of price points and shipping. So at this Blackwell's to ship to Wyoming, if you spent over, I think it was over $300, you got free shipping, which that shipping can add up, especially this day and age with the cost of shipping, diesel fuel shortages, and all that other stuff. It's November 5th, so if you're paying attention to all of what's going on in the world, US's fuel supply is pretty low, so I expect shipping to be outrageous going forward. So something to pay attention to if you can find free shipping, and then also just general prices. Blackwell's, they didn't have the best prices I've ever seen, but they definitely weren't the worst. And it really depended on what the bottle was. Like some of their prices were pretty okay. Some of their stuff was outrageous, but again, it's just a matter of what's it worth to you for something you can't find. To me, some of the things I couldn't find, their prices on the bottles that I picked were not bad at all. So keep that in mind when you're buying stuff online. It is an option for most people in most states. So this Anoa is ringing in at 46.6%, which is what, 93.2%, or sorry, 93.2 proof. And I don't believe this is an age-stated whiskey. Let's see here. But here we marry together whiskey from several different casks, so that's going to make it a non-age stated whiskey, I believe, including new charred oak, PX sherry, and first fill bourbon. And here they become fully mature with each other. So there you go. Yeah. Okay. We got a couple things going on. We got a sherry cask in there as well. Once again, I will say Ardbeg's fairly light colored whiskey in general. But this one has just the slightest bit of a brandy hue to it, so a little bit of a reddish hue to it. Man, and the nose, man, coming off that Ardcore, the nose on this is dense, even though compared to like that 1920 Old Forester I just did, not nearly as dense, but a nice dense nose. Some sweet notes in there. The smoke's coming through. Kind of in the background, a little bit of seaside brininess. It smells kind of like a brandy with smoke, where you get some of that dark fruit in there, a raisin mixed with a little honey or a light brown sugar. Smells really good, not gonna lie. Digging the nose. Really viscous, oily in the finish, or in the glass here. It has pretty good legs in there. It's really clingy. I like that. Smells good. Coming in right away. You get the smoke. It tastes like if you've ever had like jalapeno flavored potato chips, has that kind of like tongue feel to it. But man, that smoke's up front. It's a really nice smoke. It's not overbearing, but it's pretty present. Mixed with a nice, very sweet, like a dark, rich honey, like a buckwheat honey. Um, and then it moves into like this malty chocolate, a little bit of graham cracker in that middle. Um, and then finishes off with a bit of wood smoke and like a dry dark chocolate. Yep, that's what I'd say. Man, really, really nice. Not really any fruit notes in there. And the one thing I will say is because, and you've heard me say this 100 times, this is the second smoky whiskey I've done, and for me, it's difficult to do more than two smoky whiskeys and do any sort of justice to them because I acclimate to smoke almost off of the first sip, and after that, all I get are those sweeter middle notes, which is awesome when you're drinking and enjoying the whiskey. But to give it a fair shake on a review sometimes makes it a little bit difficult. A little bit of savoriness. Um, Mixed in with a nice smoke and a little bit of sweet, almost a honey cured ham kind of there on the very back end of that finish. Um, Extremely lovely. Now, again, comparing this to that Ardcore, I mean, at $58, could buy three of these and still have money left over for the price of that one. This is a way more complex flavor profile, a lot more in there. Slightly a 0.6% higher ABV, and a little bit more color in the glass. Just so much more going on with this, but extremely nice. Nose is not really changing much. Graham cracker, honey, light smoke, a little bit of a dark fruit, a little bit of a raisin, a little bit of slivovitz in there. But let's go back in for another taste. Man, again, that smoke's forward. It's a nice, pleasant wood smoke, not overbearing. A little bit of tannin in there. So you get a little bit of bitterness, not enough to make it unpleasant at all. I mean, it's like right where it should be. A nice sweet honey in the middle, a dark honey moves into that malted chocolate milk kind of a middle, finishes with a nice sweetness with just the slightest bit of tannin in there and a little bit of savory smoked meat. Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I can't find any faults with this at all. There's nothing wrong with it. Nice, rounded flavor profile, start to finish. No holes in it at all. I would say the finish doesn't punch up. It just kind of slowly wanes out in a good way. You can find some grain notes in there, like almost like Cheerios in there. Um, Man, there's all kinds of like little bits of things that are kind of hard to describe. There's a couple flavors in there that I haven't said because I can't put my thumb on what they are, but there's some other things kind of floating in the background, but just really lightly, kind of under the veil a little bit. They're not something that most people are even going to pick out, but they're there, and they definitely add to the complexity and pleasantry of this whiskey. Huge fan of this. Huge fan of this actually. Um, I'd say the proof is nice, and it's not like super earthy peatness, which I like that. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of that as well, but that is not what's in this glass. The smoke is light, it's not heavy-handed, and it's a nice wood smoke, not a peaty earthiness at all. Man, there's almost a little bit of a popcorn in there, like just regular popcorn without anything on it. Man, a little bit of a dark fruit, raisin, little plum, Slivovitz, kind of in that tail end of the first part of the palate before it moves into that mid palate that just kind of sits nicely with a nice sweetness in there. If you've ever drank like Corbel brandy, has a little bit of that kind of in that middle palate there. Popcorn. Oh, yeah. Super, super good. Really like it. Worth every penny of $58. You can find it for somewhere around that price point, 60, even $70. Totally worth it at that. So go ahead and drop in the comments down below what you can find a bottle of Ardbeg and Oa for in your area. I cannot find it in my area, so I had to buy it online at Blackwell's Wines and Spirits. I think that was a good purchase for sure. That whole deal worked out really nice for me. So anybody can do that. Go and check them out online. It's not a sponsor spot or anything like that. Nobody pays me a dime for anything. I pay for everything out of pocket. So check them out. They did right by me. The only caveat was you had to have somebody 21 years of age sign for the package on delivery. So if you are going to order from them, make sure that you have the ability to have somebody there when packages get delivered in order to pick that up, which is the one downside to ordering online. But being a stay-at-home dad kind of worked out for me. But yeah, super, super good. So go ahead, drop in the comments down below if you have had an experience with the Ardbeg Anoa. I'm a big fan for sure. Check out Life and Whiskey, Life and Whisk at Rumble. You could try Life and Whiskey, type that in, see what comes up. Maybe something there. bitchute.com, that's where I do most of my stuff. Doing video releases Wednesdays and Saturdays, although we're still in November here. It's like November 5th, something like that. Still got an elk tag in my pocket. I'm trying to managed to fill a deer tag last weekend, which, wow, to shoot a spike buck, man. I walked a total of 10.3 or 4 miles. I was 4 miles deep when I shot it. Had over 2,000 vertical feet of elevation gain on the day and packed out with an 80-pound pack for 4 miles. So a little bit more than I expected, but hey, we punched that tag and life was pretty good. And I missed a shot at like 400 yards, which I still don't know how I missed that shot because everything was perfect. Wind was perfect. Everything was good. Shot broke well. I expected to see a dead animal, and I watched him run up over, a couple of ridges away, and that was that. So I don't know, but at 185 yards, got him. So that was good. Anyways, hopefully your guys, if you're a hunter, your hunting season's going well. We're struggling a little bit. That was the first tag we punched. My wife, my dad, my brother, all man, bad antelope season. We never got a shooting opportunity on our big family hunt. But we did get 3 generations hunting, so it was dad, me, and my brother and my son, all out there in the field with my wife having a tag and my brother and my dad having a tag. It was good. Hunting conditions could have been a little better. Hit some snow, lots of pressure, lots of people, not a lot of antelope. That was a little rough. Elk season has been just kind of rough all over, and then deer, hunting some deer, not a gimme either. So hopefully things are going a little bit better for you. Drop that down in the comments too. Always love to hear about what other people got going on when it comes to hunting. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate everybody who leaves comments. I'll get back to you if you do. As well as anybody who watches the videos. I do appreciate that as well. The last ones we got here, this will be the last video for this shoot. The next shoot, I have 3 whiskeys to go here. I have the Cavalion, which is a Taiwanese whiskey. I have Talisker 10. I finally got one of those. I've already done Talisker Storm and Distiller's editions. And then this Ardbeg, Alt Galeen or Glean, which is another distillery that's on the Isle of Skye. So Talisker's on the Isle of Skye, also so is this Ardbeg. So those will be the last I got, and then I got 3 bourbons coming from Montana from a buddy of mine. We'll see when I can get up there to get those from him. Those might be a couple of weeks away yet. But other than that, that's kind of all I got going on down here at the moment. Of course, I always got experiments and stuff. I don't know. I got you here. If you're still with me at this point, why not? So this is the High West High Country American Single Malt. And my hunting partner gave it to me last year. He gave me a bottle of it. So I took it. I put it on some more oak. I got 2 heavy char oak chips in here and then 1 medium char oak chip. It's sitting at 44% or 88 proof. If you haven't done this before, I highly encourage it. Take a whiskey, any whiskey, it doesn't matter. If it's good, you can maybe destroy it or maybe make it better. If it's bad, chances are you can make it better. If you can get your hands on oak chips of any sort and then just toast them yourself or char them yourself to whatever level, the more charcoal they are, the more you're going to get those sugars to come out. But man, you can really change whiskey profiles. Ooh. Oh, that was really good. Really, really good. And then once you do that, once you change something, go back and compare it to the original and see what the differences are. I'm going to say right now, so this has been sitting on, since February 12th of this year, right? So what is this? This is November. Let's call it November 12th, even though it's the 5th. 11/2, so what is that? 9 months? It's been 9 months in here. And that is a very high, so 3 oak chips to that amount of whiskey. A pretty high ratio of oak to whiskey. And man, if they had let that whiskey go, if High West had let that whiskey go to that point, whew, they'd be crushing it. And then this one, I've talked about many times. This is my Pine Bluffs single malt. So Pine Bluffs is down in southeastern Wyoming. It's east of Cheyenne. It's practically in Nebraska. And let's see. I put this on oak. I got 1 heavy char oak and 1 toasted oak in here. I put this on oak in April 24th, 2021. So this has been well over a year. The original single malt that I had, man, when I cracked that bottle, it literally smelled like vomit. It did not smell good. It was green and sour and new makey. They had only had it on oak for 6 months. I didn't know that at the time. Because their newer releases, the Pine Bluff stuff, their bourbon and whatever, like their newer bottles are much nicer. They're pretty well balanced. They're decent whiskeys. But they released a bunch of, like, all distilleries, right? You get into it, you get into a lot of debt, and all of a sudden you got whiskey aging, and you're like, crap, we need some money, so you release way too early. And that's what happened to this single malt. Was 6 months is not the right amount of time for it to be on oak. It needed to be on oak for much, much, much longer than that. And that green vomit new make was just rough. And it is all but gone on this. I mean, sorry, that's not the right way to say it. It's gone. It doesn't smell like vomit anymore. It still has this light green syrupy smell. Like, it still smells young because it is still young. But the vomit's gone. It's actually not a bad smell. And the color is, I mean, it was this Ardbeg that we just reviewed. If you go back look at the video footage, the color on it was kind of that, had a little bit of brandy, sherry color to it, right? Um, that's kind of how this stuff started, was probably 1/10 the color, the darkness that's on there. Oh, and that one too, the flavor profile, so much better. So much better. So, if you have a whiskey that you're not a super fan of, get some oak chips, take a torch, burn them to whatever degree you want. It doesn't really matter. Take them, throw them in the oven, toast them up till it starts to smoke, and you set this fire alarm off, then pull them out. And then just start throwing them in various levels, into bottles, into jars, whatever you want. Do as many experiments as you want. I highly encourage it. You're going to end up with something that's awesome. I got so many experiments back here you wouldn't believe. And you know what? If the worst thing that happens is you over oak them, and they get tannic and bitter and astringent, and bam, you got yourself some Pappy 23. Okay, that's the worst that happens. And you know what? I got some stuff back here that happened to, and then I took stuff and I charcoaled it, man. I just burnt the crap out of that, and I put that charcoal back in there, and I let it go. And I'm seeing if I could reverse the effects, right? And so far, most of those experiments have gotten better and less tannic and less nasty and less bitter. So it seems like you can go too far and then bring it back somewhat. But experiment. You never know, right? So if you got crappy whiskey, go ahead and try it. What are you going to hurt? Push comes to shove. Hopefully it's like a $15 bottle or less. And if you need to, you can use it to light your next bonfire, or give it away as a gift, or dump it out as an absolute last resort. But experiment. That's all I got to say. As always, thanks for watching. I do greatly appreciate it. You guys have yourselves a great day. Ardbeg and oil, $58. If you can find it, pick it up. Catch you in the next video.